What's going on, guys? My name is Doug. Welcome back to another video. Welcome to the channel if you're new. I'm very happy that you guys decided to stop by and tune in today, as we're going to be going through my favorite tracks off of the 1975's latest album, Notes on a Conditional Form. Now, I know that some of you guys had been hoping for a reaction to the entire project, but this project is over an hour and 20 minutes long, and it really would have been very tough to manage to stay open-minded and consistent for that long as I record an entire video and listen to every single track that way. It might have been a little rough to get through that video, and so I decided to do it in this format, and that way I only have to listen to the ones that I think are the very best tracks off the project. Not only that, but I'm glad that I chose to do this video this way, because some of the tracks that made it onto this list actually had to grow on me in order to become, some of my favorites. So on my first reaction, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed some of these tracks so much, and that would have kind of given off a skewed view of how I feel about this project. And so yeah, I just feel like this would be the better way to approach this project. So I'm sorry to everybody who wanted the reaction to the entire thing. Trust me, this is absolutely going to be better content than that video would have been. I love the 1975. I've listened to all four of their major projects. Ever since their first one, I have been super interested in them and their style, in their music. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed their last project. I made a video on it. It's on the channel, a brief inquiry into online relationships. They have some very long album names, and some of those tracks are still in constant rotation to this day. So I was very excited going into this project, I wasn't really disappointed. We've got 12 tracks on this list that are my favorites off the project. The ones that didn't make it onto this list aren't necessarily bad. They're just not the ones that I have, constantly in rotation. With that said, I have to get through the plugs. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all my patrons and members on this channel. You guys are absolutely the reason that I'm able to put out this content as consistently and as often as I do. This channel wouldn't be where it's at without the support of those patrons and those members. And of course, everybody who is subscribed, liked the videos, commented, and shared with somebody new. The channel wouldn't be where they're at without them either. I mentioned the patrons and the support that they give to the channel because that's how I crowdfund all of the different segments and ideas that I want to implement into the channel. And so it's just a really nice added step to supporting the channel. And if you're able to check out those tiers, see if it's worth your while, I would really appreciate it. And if you're not able to, you can always support by subscribing, liking the videos, sharing, commenting, all those different ways. I appreciate all of that support very, very much. It means a whole lot to me. We're about to hit 16,000 subscribers, and I'm very excited about that. I can't wait to hit the next milestone, which I believe for my channel personally that I set is 20,000. And it looks like we might be able to hit that before the end of the year, I'm hoping. So we'll see how that goes. But with those plugs out of the way, we're going to be jumping right into the music, which is what you're here for in the first place. And so the first track that we're going to be listening to that made it onto my list of favorite songs is The End, Music for Cars. This is just such a beautiful atmosphere and soundscape. I had to include it, into my list. This is just beautiful, It's so cinematic. Those little shimmering percussion in the background. I love this so much, man. This is just so great. Little plucked strings, man. It sounds like something straight out of a movie soundtrack. It's extremely cinematic. It's such a beautiful atmosphere that they create with this arrangement. The 1975 has such a talent for creating these incredible interludes, these soundscapes that just transport you into this other dimension, The strings and the chord progressions they implement with all of those shimmering, subtle percussion sounds going on in the background, very low-key synths going on to kind of push the track forward a little bit and add a little bit of a boost to those strings where they want them to be boosted and to be really loud and emphatic and beautiful. The little plucked strings going on towards the end of the track, which I believe are being played on a guitar, like all of that is just such a nice little touch. It's so detailed, everything about it seems so intentional, and it's just a really beautiful little interlude, kind of a really beautiful atmosphere that they create. And I really wanted to highlight that because these guys as musicians are absolutely ridiculous. Like, they're really talented. Their songwriting has always been very good, but the musical talent as a whole for creating these beautiful scores is just like, it's just tremendous. So yeah, very, very great track there. The first actual song on the list is Frail State of Mind. Already there's like a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot going on that I want to comment on already. For anybody that might be new to this channel and hasn't seen any one of my videos before, I do come from a little bit of a production background, and so my ear picks up, it has been conditioned to pick up on a lot of these little subtle production elements that create these sounds and these vibes. So, you know, just be prepared for that. A lot of breaking down of the actual musicality to these tracks. But the really subtle keys that are a little bouncy, you know, dum 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 dum. That little loop is just like, it gets stuck into your head because that's really consistent and it goes on for the majority of the track. Very minimal drums, I will say. They're not extremely loud, not very in your face, but they're still very bouncy, and they make great use of the percussive sounds and not necessarily the traditional snare crashes and hi-hats. They use them incorporating more of those like kind of tom sounds, a little bit of a bongo kind of sound, you know, things like that they're more, how do I say, they're not necessarily as traditional as like a trap beat, which consists mostly of hi-hats, kicks, and snares. This has got a little bit more of those toms, the fills going on. I really enjoy that. We have some pads going on, you know, just things like that that really make this a very special sound, and we haven't even gotten into the lyrics yet. So once Maddie starts singing, we get background vocals, we get little pitched vocal chops that go on in the background, and they're panned ear to ear, things like that just, there's so many layers to the track, you know what I mean, that just really make this a very enjoyable listen. The little synths that came in with the guitars, super nice. This is such a great little breakdown. You hear all those little pitched vocals, man. There's a little riff that just went ba-da-da. Just that little chop that they added to create a little bit of anticipation for that next beat to hit. They have the little muffled frail state of mind motif going on in the background. They also have it pitched down and up, I believe. They've got a bunch of different sounds going on, man. It's just a really cool little breakdown, and it's just such an interesting song to listen to, you know, besides the fact that it's fun and poppy and it gets you moving and things like that. And Maddie Healy's got such great pop vocals, dude, seriously. It's just a fantastic track, dude. It's a really fun song. It's heavily layered with vocals and arrangements and things that catch our attention and keep us invested in the track. Brilliant, you know, arrangements and things like that. A very compelling performance for Maddie Healy. He's got great vocals, and just everything about this was really well executed to create that very fun feeling to the song. Next track is Yeah, I Know. Love this little key. The little arrangements with those keys are so nice, man. Seriously. This little vocal chop is so nice. So easy to get lost in this music, dude. Just the creative use of the vocal samples and the pitching and the panning, the fantastic use of that main synth, which has really great harmonies going on with the undertones and the overtones, the little riffs that they do, and the way that they made it sound with like the cutoff filter turned down a little bit to add almost like a little bit of a muffled kind of vibe to them. Everything about this melodically is almost understated in comparison to the very fast-paced little hats and drums that really get you moving. They create that groove to this track, but they're so well placed. Those little melodic elements are so well placed that you really just can't help but appreciate that so much. So it's a really fun song to listen to as well. Not much going on lyrically, more of a vibe, really, more of a little bit of a dance track kind of, but still very, very fun to listen to. Then Because She Goes. Hey. Hey. Love the progressions there. The auto-tune, so sweet, dude. You can't not like this, dude. You gotta love it. It's so good. It's such a great little pop ballad, like that pop rock ballad. And Maddie's vocals are so sweet and soft. The harmonies going on, the actual chord progressions are so emotional and sweet and touching. The way that the drummer, I forget his name, unfortunately, but the way that he uses those fills to lead us brilliantly into the next sections of the track, because when you have so many different arrangements and little chord progressions you want to get into, you've got to find a seamless way to transition into them, and they just do it exactly that, like seamlessly. They do it so well, and it's just so beautiful to listen to, and it's so touching, and it's just such a great little sweet track, you know what I mean? It's so good. That's one of my favorites, really. I love it when they do that like those pop ballads, you know what I mean? Not necessarily playing around too much with electronic samples and sounds and synths, really just using, you know, drums, guitars, and Maddie's brilliant vocals. I love it when they do that. They sound fantastic. Jesus Christ, 2005, God Bless America. Yeah. Whenever they get into like folk music, it's also very well done, and I love it. These horns, come on, dude. Seriously. You can't play with my emotions like that, you know what I mean? I'm in love with Jesus Christ. What a way to start off. First of all, what a line to just start us off. After we get that really sweet little guitar, that folk vibe, it almost feels like you're sitting around a campfire. You get those super soft horns in the background, and then Maddie just comes in soft as ever, just saying, I'm in love with Jesus Christ. Like, what a way to pull your listener in, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to say next? Because this is something we haven't heard from you before. The pads in the background, that added layers, come on. I'm in love, but I'm feeling low in the snow. Look at the songwriting, dude. Who can't relate to that? I believe, lucky me, that's irony. Love those horns, dude. Nice when she comes round to the call, the masturbate. PG-13, guys, come on. It's just such a beautiful little folk song from the 1975. I didn't look up who the female singer was, but her voice is just so soft. It almost sounds like an angel singing, you know? It's just so soft, and it's so fluttery, like a feather floating in the wind or something like that, you know? And it's so touching. And the fact that they leave so much space without any lyrics for us to just fall into these instrumentals is just brilliant. You know, the way that they executed this, those subtle little horn arrangements. At no point do those horns sound overly brash or abrasive. They did a great job at mixing them. The soft little pads coming over the top, you know, a few octaves up with those really bright little melodies are just so nice. Everything about this is warm and soft and comfortable to listen to. Really nice. You know what isn't soft and warm and comfortable? My neighbors, because they're very loud. So forgive me for that. Me and You Together song. This is reminiscent of the first album. This is such a fun track, dude. Just a really fun, romantic track. Very poppy, very happy, very bright. Very reminiscent of that first album, you know, with the super catchy guitar riffs repeated on a loop. The very bouncy, energetic drums. Maddie just giving this really great pop vocals as always. Just that bright, like almost innocent romantic vibe, you know? Super cool. You can't not like that track if you like, you know, great pop, fun music. It's just really well executed for sure. Nothing revealed, everything denied. Fantano's comment about the guitar solo in this track was pretty funny. Man, I wish those cars weren't interrupting this music, dude. I'm gonna replay this from the beginning because I love these little, like, soulful keys right here in the beginning, you know? So almost like a gospel vibe to them. The 1975 can even make, like, lounge music, you know? Like Mine off of that last album. So great. Love the chord progression, dude. Life feels like a lie. I need something to be. The soul, the gospel feeling to it. I never fucked in a car. I was lying on my bed. I just talk about the things that play me. So honest. Filtering those drums was a great idea. It's so catchy. Comments on this guitar solo soon. Yeah, okay, so firstly, I will say I love the use of the gospel chords. The choir definitely adds that soulful feeling to it. The chorus is super catchy, very easy to learn. I love how honest Maddie is in the verses. I love the way that they pitch the vocals every now and then for specific portions of those verses. I like that the drums are filtered for part of the track and then they're unfiltered for the other part of the track to give us a sense of progression, and that the track is growing, the drums are getting louder. And I will say that, you know, everything about that was really great. I think the guitar solo is very well performed. I think it's a great solo. I think the mixing could have been better. I understand that they were going for kind of like a muffled, warbly underwater sound for that guitar solo, but tracks like Zombies for Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love, you know, they do a great job at having that sound for the guitar solo, and it doesn't sound poorly mixed. You know, if you're listening to this track with headphones on, there are times when you can hear like crackling and static as the guitar solo is going on, and things like that are just kind of a little off-putting. It doesn't sound like it's fitting in very well with the track surrounding it. So I think that just the mixing on that could have been a little bit better to achieve that effect, but not giving us those harsher frequencies and not giving us that muddiness almost that we get, you know? Definitely check out Zombies by Childish Gambino and you'll see what I mean. That guitar solo also has a very warbly kind of sound to it, underwater kind of vibe, but it sounds like it fits with the track. But again, it is up to your personal taste. Some people have hated that guitar solo whenever I mention it, and I personally love it. So it is what it is, but I think it's a great track. I still think it's one of the best ones. I listen to it all the time. Yeah, it made it onto my list, which means, you know, I thoroughly enjoy it. Next is probably my favorite track off the project, Tonight I Wish I Was Your Boy, and I can't wait to listen to this again. I have been singing this nonstop, basically. It's in my head 24/7. The Little Temptations sample is so great. The way they put that sample in there is just so great, dude. You can't not smile when you listen to this. Save my heart still in it, save your feels just to win it, and give it a name tonight. Run away from me, run away from me. Give me the best place in my life. I wish I was your boy. Love those horns, dude. I wish I was your boy. Dude, the way they incorporated the sample in there, those horn arrangements, the really groovy drum pattern, like the performance from Maddie, the really sultry and dreamy performance on the hook, the background vocals, like everything about this track is just so, it's adorable, you know? It's sweet and it's fun and it's groovy and it's just so fun to listen to. It's such a great track. They did this so well. It's probably the best track off the project, in my opinion. Then Because She Goes is great. Jesus Christ 2005, God Bless America is great. Guys is great, you know, so I mean it's really tough to choose, but I think this one, it might be my favorite for sure. If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. It's a very interesting musical intro to the track. The super bright pop guitars. Again, first album, you know, callback. I say that this is a callback to the sounds from the first album, but in reality, like if I showed this to my dad, right, who is super into 80s pop bands, he would thoroughly enjoy this because it sounds like it belongs in that era, you know? And just the really nice like synth bass going on and the bouncy drums, just a really basic like 2 and 4 pattern on the drums, the little synths shimmering over the top of it, like everything about that is just super 80s. Even the way he says his words sounds just like the first album. Take off your clothes. This is so great, dude. Straight back into that 80s sound, dude. This is gonna be so fun at concerts. Just the level of musicality that we've achieved, you know. There's a whole lot of people that like to say stupid things like no one makes real music the way they used to because they still listen to music from like the 70s and 80s and that's what they grew up on, and to them that's real music. But I mean, you can't tell me this isn't good. You can't tell me that this isn't a great tribute to that era and still putting a modern twist on it. I mean, the super bright poppy chorus, that really nice like bass, that doom 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 doom, that super like consistent bass throughout the entire track, the synth bass, the saxophone solo, those horn arrangements, like everything about that is just so special. It's so brilliantly orchestrated and arranged, and to listen to this and say that they don't make music like they used to is just a dumb statement, because we have such great musical talents nowadays with equipment that is better able to create new sounds, new atmospheres, and record their music in higher quality. You could definitely make an argument that music today is better than it has ever been because of those things, because the talent is there, but the equipment itself has evolved as well. So yeah, this is just, I feel like, a great callback to that sound and still putting that modern twist on it. Super great. Playing on My Mind. Again, that little folk music vibe. Very well, you know these things, they have been playing on my mind. Bro, the songwriting. I think I've seen this side. Why am I always cold? Now I know I should have left it, but who says that? What a side, you know, thing has been playing on my mind. Really great folk vibe, you know, really nice songwriting, a very sweet feeling to the song. The background vocals are so nice. The guitar playing is really great, and it's just a really fun track to learn and to sing along to and to vibe out to, you know. Really sweet song. Don't Worry is next. When blackness hangs overhead like, don't worry, darling, the sun will shine. The pain flows through your heart. Don't worry. Those little keys, come on, dude. You're not gonna make me cry in this video. Don't worry, darling. It's a really interesting thing that he did with his vocals there, the way that they processed it. It's almost like a Bon Iver, Kanye West kind of thing, where they have a little bit of auto-tune, they have some layering. Some of the layered vocals sound almost robotic, and they're placed so well on top, you know, of one another that you just get this really interesting effect when you hear it with headphones on, especially. And it's just such a comforting, warm, relaxing song. And those little instruments that come in towards the end, the little horns and the bright little keys, are just like the cherry on top. You know, it just feels it almost feels like an embrace, this track. So had to make it onto my list. And the last track of the project, Guys. Again, very honest. It's the best thing that ever happened, and I wish that we could do it again. It was the best thing that ever happened. to close out the project, especially being that this is the end of an era, really. The 1975 isn't breaking up or anything like that. From what I've read, they actually have new music already being made, and they've already got music to release for after this project. So they're not going anywhere, but they say that this is the end of the music for cars era. And so from now on, I'm assuming that we'll be getting different styles, different genres. Who knows, you know? But the fact that they ended the era with a tribute to the band members themselves, you know, it's almost like a love track that Matty wrote for his friends, for his best friends, the band members. And the fact that he says it took him so long to realize that he's in love with these guys and that he couldn't live without them, and that the best thing that ever happened to him was the forming of the band and these adventures that they had together. It's just a really touching track, really sweet. And on top of it, the instrumentals really sound very poppy and bright and happy and touching. You know, so it's a really nice way to close the project off. Gives us a sense of closure. And it also is just a really sweet way for Matty to kind of thank the band members for everything that they've gone through and for the adventures that they've got ahead. I think it's really nice. So yeah, guys, this was Notes on a Conditional Form. Well, my favorite tracks off of Notes on a Conditional Form. I think it's a really nice project from the 1975. I do think that maybe their first album might still be my favorite, but this definitely was a very solid outing. A lot of great songs, and musically they are better than they have ever been in terms of their skill, their ability to create these beautiful arrangements and soundscapes. You know, they're not just the typical pop band anymore. They're legitimate. They have solidified themselves as one of my favorite bands of all time, for sure. Very consistent guys, very talented, always excited to hear new music from them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video and listening to my thoughts on these tracks. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, and if you feel like supporting, you know, going one step further to support the channel, check out those tiers on the Patreon and on the membership for the channel, and see if they're worth your while. You know, who knows, it might be worth your while to become a patron and support that way as well. I really appreciate it. So yeah, like I said, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back in another video very soon. Until then, stay safe. Peace out.